Yo, 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 what's up, guys? American Mexican Gunslinger. I'm going live today. I'm going live. This is the part two on the V series that I was talking about when I went live the other day. But I got a message for all of my subscribers, all of you. You know, like I said, I'm going to start my video with this message saying that you are the resistance. You have to work yourself physically, mentally, and spiritually if you're not prepared for these things. Be financially stable, have a little bit of gold on the side. You better have armament and better learn how to use those arms. And you better have the needs of getting, food for those arms as well. Because, if you're right here, just hearing this conspiracy theories and just want to get conspiracy, mindset of learning these new things and just been like, oh, I just want to learn about these conspiracies and all this stuff, and you're not really prepared for them, and you're just here to just watch, fear corn, supposedly, and you're just trying to get a little bit of dopamine with these videos. I just suggest you just go somewhere else, man. I'm trying to give you some truth here and trying to speak to you and get you prepared for these things that are coming up. This ain't no game. I continue to say this, that this is not a game. We're doing this to warn you one way or another, to get you ready for the worst case scenario of your life that's even possible, that's even probably going to happen, or it might never happen. You just have to be prepared. Just like when Jesus, told us to be prepared, because he's going to come back, and when he comes back, you don't want to have your hand in the cookie jar. You know what I mean? You don't want to be committing sin and adultery and fornication and continuing doing sinful acts. When it comes to being prepared, you better be ready. When they're coming at you, when these reptilians are going to be coming at your door knocking, are you going to be ready to defend your life and your family, or are you just going to give up and let them take you? Because that's the last thing you want them to do. And a lot of people have continued warning you about this. Like I said, you better be ready for this crap. You better be freaking ready, I almost cuss right there, But you better be ready, man. This ain't no game. This ain't no game. And a lot of you people, man, I'm just going to be real with y'all. A lot of you people aren't prepared for this 100%. Like, I'm kind of prepared. I'm like, whatever, you know what I mean? And I got a family to look over, and if you don't have a family to look over, more power to you, man. You better be ready on and prepared, because there's a lot of people that don't have families that, they're more prepared than a lot of family out there, people are out there, they have means of gaining access to weaponry, they have access to gaining, tools, utensils, utility, and all these other, vehicles, things to get you to point A to point B. These are the main factors when it comes to survival, having food and water. How are you going to resource your food and water? Do you know how to hunt? Do you know how to track animals? Do you know how to fish? All these things play a part when it comes to survival, especially because you don't know where you're going to be when these reptilians come knocking at your door. So just be prepared, man. Just be prepared. I know a lot of you people want to, have your faith in Jesus Christ. That's the number one thing to do. But like I said, faith without works is dead. So it tells you right there, faith without works is dead. So if you have all the faith, but you ain't doing the work, you dead. Simple as that. You know what I mean? So be prepared for this stuff. So right now I'm going to talk about V right here. This poster right here, when the show came on, when they figured out that these demonic reptilian humanoids were going on and going and capturing their people and taking them on board, and these kids right here didn't know where their parents were, they didn't know where their family members were taken to, because these freaking creatures were taking them, you know what I mean? They were taking them. And that's when the resistance was starting to, come abroad, they were starting to build something to resist these reptilian beings that were coming in, and they put V for victory. That's what V standed for. It standed for victory, and when it comes to these beings, they were a lot smarter, more advanced, and even these crazy little kids, they were rebelling against these people, and they were trying their best, the very best, to spread the word that these demonic reptilians were really evil. They were bad, you know. And the crazy part about it is that in the show it explains to you a lot of these things. You know, I'm gonna go to more into detail about this show, but I'm telling you, man, when it came to building the resistance, you had to know people. You had to know people that had skills. You know how to hotwire a vehicle. You know, criminals, ex-military. You know, people that were in law enforcement. You know, people that were that then, you know, they were even just bartenders because they can just, you know, blend in with the environment, with the normal crowd, you know. And they were helping all these people, you know, set up a resistance towards these whole reptilian beings that were trying to take charge of the human race. I'm telling you, man, this ain't no game. This ain't no game. I know a lot of you want to, you know, talk about Jesus Christ and the good works that he's done. But you got to remember that Jesus Christ has given us warning time and time immemorial. He told his disciples to say, if you don't have a sword, go sell your cloak and buy one. You know, what does that mean? It cannot just mean anything. You have to be prepared for these things. You know, that's why when I put my YouTube videos about my tools, it's to show you information about it. It's whether you take it as a grain of salt or not, or you just want to just dive into conspiracy theories, but yet then if you're fat and lazy and you're not physically fit, you know, to even run a mile and stuff, and you're just gonna be like, oh well, I'm getting ready, you know, I'm gonna face off. No, man, that you gotta prepare yourself spiritually with Jesus Christ, mentally to endure to the end, and physically have your body prepared. Stop feeding your fleshly desires. You know, that's when it comes to working out and exercising, because you're literally destroying your flesh when you're working out and doing pull-up bars and doing push-ups and lifting up weights. You're literally ripping your muscles and they're repairing. You're literally not feeding your flesh. You're literally trying to, you know, destroy yourself to become a better human being, to become a better, more physically strong individual. Eat healthier foods, like organic foods, man. I'm telling you, like, I'm gonna go deep in this one. So, you know, and guess what? Their favorite choice of meal for these reptilian humanoids to eat are fat people, bruh. They're fat people. Oh my gosh, yes. That's why we tell you, get off your meds. Get off your meds, homie. Stop doing pharmaceutical drugs. Endure. Man, I know it's hard to say this, but you have to have healthy, natural alternatives to what you're taking. Because when it comes to the government shutting down everything and these reptilians, you know, shutting down the banks and taking all your wealth and money and shutting down the pharmaceutical industry, you're not going to have a way of needs getting those pills that you need. You got to go and have healthy alternatives, you know. That's what I'm telling you. If you have land and acres of land, grow your own garden, you know, have farm raise your animals. Make sure they don't eat, you know, soy food, you know, like soy ingredients on the animals, because, you know, if you're going to end up eating that beef, eating that chicken, you don't want soy inside your body, especially because, you know, it alters your mind really bad. That's why they're called soy boys, you know what I'm saying? It's not just a terminology, but it means something. You know, and a lot of people are allergic to soy. It's a thing. But besides all that, yeah, man. I know. I know. Age gets to you, man, and especially when you're doing hard work like what you're describing right there, brother. It's gonna be hard, man. But I'm telling you, there's a lot of things you can do, man. You gotta therapy yourself to fix your body from all that physical activity, from all that pain. You know, there's alternatives. I'm telling you. I've seen videos of 70, 80-year-old men who are literally can do more push-ups than I can do more pull-ups than I can. You know what I'm saying? So it's hard. I know it's hard with your everyday life, and you're gonna work in your 5 to 9s. It's a hard time. It's a hard battle. And let me tell you, because, you know, with my job and the work that I do, you know, it gives me a little leverage when it comes to, watching my health, exercising, and eating the foods that I got to. But besides all that, the resistance. You are the resistance. We need you. We need as many strong women, many strong men, many smart men, many smart women. Things that I don't know how to weld. You probably know how to weld. You know what I'm saying? You know how to build water filters. I kind of have a mentality on how to do it. But there's some people that have more expertise on that. That's why when it comes to survival and all these things, I love tools, but I don't know how to reload my own ammo. You probably know how to reload ammo. You know what I mean? Because you never know that these reptilians might need a different type of material of bullet in order to drop them down, because that's what happened in this show. You know what I mean? They had to get special ammunition to drop these dudes. That's what I'm telling you. Sometimes you have to learn these things. Like, I know how to fix tools. I know how to, fix vehicles. I know how to grow plants. I know how to grow food. I know all these things, when it comes to a little bit of survival here and there, because, I had to work on my own experience, because my parents didn't teach me crap. You know what I mean? If you're not teaching your children these things, how are they gonna learn? My parents were always working 24/7. You know what I learned how to do? Just play video games and watch TV the whole time. That's why this whole generation ain't gonna be ready for what's coming. That's why you are the resistance. You know what I mean? We have to prepare for all this crap. All right. I'm gonna go for the next one, man. Next one. Right here. This is when they showed the world who they really were. And this is when the human race realized these folks that came in disguise with these masks aren't humans. They're reptilian humanoids who want to eat them and destroy them and control them and take all their resources as much as they can. That's why they're spraying the skies and terraforming this world for them. Because they're the hey, I was talking to Miss Gunslinger about them silver bullets the other time, and I looked online. There's some companies that sell them, but $120 for a bullet, for just one bullet. I'm talking about one bullet, $120. Like, I mean, when it comes to it, maybe, but but yeah, like what I was saying is that she that chick right here, the blondie right here, she ended up infiltrating this whole ceremony, because they were having a ceremony and it was just the reptilians doing a ceremony, and she went up to them and pulled the freaking mask off of that dude and showed the world on live broadcast on who they were. But the crazy part is that all the people that saw it, the world saw, and everybody, they try to erase it. You know what I'm saying? For the people who weren't seeing. Because this whole broadcast was worldwide. Everyone in the world was tuned onto television watching this thing. I don't doubt that the powers that be, these reptilian pedos who are in control of this world, it's going to happen the same way. With all these things that are continuing happening. Oh, with Trump going out and not releasing the Epstein files, but goes and released the so-called alien files or X-Files. Trying to distract you from them, from these reptilian humanoids that they are. They're just dark, evil, crazy, satanic people. You know what I'm saying? But besides all that, the whole world saw this happen, man. They saw it happen. They saw these reptilians come into the flesh, and they were like, oh man, these are humans. We got duped. Now they're taking all our humans. And guess what they're doing to all these humans? I'm going to go to the next one. Hold on. They're grabbing all these humans and abducting them and taking them to their ships and using them as food. You heard me right? Food. And they're taking them by force. They're taking every single one by force. You know what I'm saying? Because they have this advanced, That's crazy. Yeah, RFB be talking about this stuff too, man. He'd be really on it. And besides all that, you know, they be taking these dudes, man. That's why we tell you don't let them take you, cuz you don't know if they're going to take you for food and freeze you, because they were freezing these dudes alive and putting them in cocoons, ready to eat them. The way I sound pretty crazy, but damn, dude, this is crazy. Like you know, we can't imagine how many lies the powers that be have been telling us. Like once you start breaking the chains of the so-called matrix system, you know, you realize that everything from school, from growing up, your parents, all that was a lie. And then this is why it's so hard for normies to comprehend what we talk about and what we discuss these topics, because to them it sounds so freaking psychotic. It sounds crazy. It really does, you know? Even me talking about this, I'm like telling you this stuff and it sounds crazy to me. But in reality, it's just like, why wouldn't you think that these things exist when, you know, they've been caught on camera with their eyes being slit, you know, their mouth being, you know, wide open at an abnormal freaking, you know, scale, and then these things wearing these masks over themselves, you know, like Joe Biden, you know, he had like his wrinkles look different and abnormal, you know, he was a taller version, now he's a shorter version, like why wouldn't you think that the powers that be are hiding this? There's nothing new under the sun. You know, these things come to light. You know, the light exposes the darkness of this world. But that's what they were doing. They were cocooning all the human beings. You know? Man, that's crazy. I did not know that, Bonnie. Oh, what? Good to see you, Bonnie. Good to see you. Good to see you. Yeah, Bonnie. Yep. Good to see you, Eric. Good to see you, man. Um, J Tig, yeah, 76. Good to see you, brother. You know, thumbs up. Thumbs up. But yeah, guys, thank you for joining me in the live stream. We're talking about these crazy reptilian humanoids. You know, if you didn't get the whole notification of me being live, well, that's YouTube trying to hide themselves behind whatever they do, because they're the ones that control. I'm pretty sure there's reptilian humanoids on YouTube trying to control the algorithm to distract you from the truth. I'm telling you, with all these videos coming up, like I said, all you find is just filth online. And I'm trying to give you some knowledge here. But yeah, with V, man, they were taking all these humans and taking them in cocoons. But I'm going to go to the next picture and talk about something different. See these two pictures right here? This one right here? This is a control panel. Well, you're probably wondering, well, what do they need this control panel? Well, with frequencies, you know, 5G towers, Wi-Fi, radio signals, yeah, they have these basically devices that shoot frequencies inside human bodies. Especially if you have, let's just say, expertise, like you're in the special forces or you're a former police officer that knows things that can work, you know, combative ways. They're gonna want to take you into this chamber and use that device to brainwash you, in a sense of they are going to control every single thing that you think. They're going to control every single movement that you do, and they're going to control your freaking mind, just like they're doing on YouTube with all this brainwashing crap. Kids on Roblox doing on their iPad, they stuck like this, man. Their parents telling, let's go already. Huh? And some children in these schools, in these public schools, they don't know how to spell. They don't know how to read. All they know is brain rot. That's the crazy part. That's why I homeschool my children. Heck no, I don't want my children to be in public schools. Heck no. If your children are in public schools, you know, and you can't do anything else because you have to work and you know, it sucks, man. It just sucks. You better be homeschooling them when you get back home from work, somewhere, somehow, teaching your children about what's going on with this life, I try to teach my kids, they barely did like almost 20 pages of mathematics and fractions and all this stuff, I was, Miss Gunslinger was out there, trying to school them, and I love the fact that my kids are like, I don't know how to do this, man. Can you teach me? And you teach them, they're just done. And they already did like 20 pages and they're done with their homework. And you're just like, wow, like that wasn't so hard. And teachers have a hard time. Teachers have a hard time. It's just crazy, man. It's crazy. But besides all that, these chambers, man, they were literally taking the most combative, smartest individuals, including the most attractive women, to be brainwashed. Because they're the ones that can pull in more humans to their ships, and the combative ones, they can literally hurt these humans and enslave them without using their own reptilian people. I think that's what they're doing right now. That's why we tell you, if things like that things hit the fan, and Christians start getting persecuted, not just Christians, but people who don't want to comply with the powers that be are doing, they're going to try to take you one way or another. You know what I mean? And it's going to be hard for a lot of individuals to fight it off. The best solution is to run, hide, and fight. Or fight, run, and hide. You know what I mean? If you have the ability to hide, hide. If you have the ability to run, run. But if you have no means of running or hiding, your only way is to fight. None of us want to be in a situation, when we fight. But besides all that, they use frequencies. And guess what? The frequencies with the ringing, your ears are ringing with the 5G. When you automatically get a boom, like a freaking wave of frequencies go through your ear, and your ears start going. They start ringing, and you're just like, what the heck? Like, usually when you pass by a 5G tower, or you pass by, now they're trying to make 6G. Now they're trying to make, I don't want to say those two numbers together, but you get what I'm saying. They're just trying to go up and up and up. And they have been using frequencies as weapons for a long time. Nothing new under the sun. I'm telling you, During the whole, the Aztec stuff, they had the Aztec, the death whistle, to they hear that whistle, and they don't want to go and fight what the heck's over there, because they're hearing something very scary and disturbing. But now they have these sonar weapons, these frequency weapons that can make you stop and drop your weapon. And they'll be like, oh, well, we can only go so high with the frequency. No, they can go so to the point where you probably pop like a balloon. Literally like you're in a microwave oven. This ain't no game. That's why we need Jesus Christ. And Jesus Christ, if you have the uttermost faith in Jesus Christ, just like when Peter was trying to walk on the water, and then he ended up sinking because he didn't have that much faith. Imagine when they're blowing you up with all those frequencies, and you have the most faith into Jesus Christ, and you're walking, and they're like, why isn't he dropping his weapon? How come he's not going on the ground, foaming? How come he's not bleeding from his eyes and stuff? Holy! And then they're going to be like, well, there's fire upon him. And then you see bullets just king, like Superman. You're like, what the heck? These people are untouchable. Then what? Then what they're going to do? When you have the uttermost faith in Jesus Christ, then what they're going to do? They're going to poop their pants. They're going to be like, because they don't want you to have that spiritual knowledge. They don't want you to have the unlimited source of power when it comes to the Most High in Jesus Christ. That's why they ridicule him. They shame him. That's the only person on this planet that gets the most infamous defaming from but these all these religions from the world. You're okay. But when it comes to Jesus Christ, like YouTube does and censors all the people that are talking about Jesus Christ. No, but remember, there's always going to be those dang snakes that like to use the name of Jesus Christ just for their own financial benefit, for their own devious acts. You got to be aware and have discernment and wisdom and the Holy Spirit to see the evil within the people. You have to understand that, ladies and gentlemen. It's just crazy. Yes, Banshee, what's up, Banshee? Yes, they used those weapons in Venezuela. Yes, they did. Because when I was seeing the whole broadcast of them, going to Venezuela, and I didn't hear nobody shoot. No one was firing. There was no conflict involved. Nobody was fighting and having firefights. There was no firefights. That's just weird and odd. Like, you go in there, but one side is firing rockets and you don't hear no one else firing towards the people that are firing rockets at. Like, it doesn't make sense. So what were they using? They have these weapons. And one thing for sure is they're going to use Project Bluebeam. They're going to come as UFOs in the skies, and they're going to have these sonar weapons on their ships, and Project Bluebeam is going to disguise them in a, like I said, it's going to be like a freaking hologram around their ship. And we're going to think that these are UFOs, but in reality, they're just ships that were made here on Earth. They were made by the military, by Black Ops, by the underground government. They were made by them. And guess what? Yeah. Everyone's going to think they're aliens. But I'm going to go to the next one. And that's how it's going to happen, man. It's going to come like that. And everyone's going to think, oh my gosh, look, there's UFOs. Aliens are real. When in reality, we can't literally leave Earth. We can't. We're entrapped in a firmament. If you're a Bible-believing scholar, a Bible-believing, so-called Christian, I don't call myself a Christian. We are followers of Christ. If you understand that God created this world, then you understand that all these, galaxies and planets, all this stuff is just nonsense. It's just a bigger lie that was taught in schools. That we live in a round ball. How does a round ball keep all that water? It has to be held up in a cup. In a cup. You know what I mean? In a cup. It has to be held up somehow. That water needs to be intact somehow. You know what I'm saying? And of course, in that picture that I'm showing you, they're attacked by bright lights. Literally by a bright light. And it's going to affect you mentally. And these bright lights, literally, what I was showing you in that little cocoon thing, that they were literally putting frequencies in their head. And they were making them see and dream things and see visions that they thought was real. You know what I mean? And they were going crazy. They were like, wake me up. I don't want to be in here. Please get me out of here. Please get me. Please let me do this. Please, I'll obey whatever you're saying. Please let me. And they were begging for mercy. They were like, I don't want to be here no more. Be like, I don't like these dreams. They're too vivid. They're too real. They made that lady see a giant, enormous snake. Yeah, the symbolism there. They made her see a giant, enormous snake that she was trying to run away from, and she couldn't run away while she was getting chased by these reptilian humanoids. They were making her see things that she was so afraid of, and she couldn't escape. That's the crazy part about this, man. That's the crazy part about this, And they were, like I said, with the whole laser stuff, with the whole frequency stuff, they were making her see things, like I said. And they were brainwashing her, literally turning her into a weapon against the resistance. That's why when we tell you, don't get captured, you better run, hide, and fight. Because this ain't no game. They're getting ready. And like I said, they cannot get everyone with the frequencies unless, they're already in place, these weapons upon the whole world. When you see those towers up there, they're giving up frequencies. What makes you think they can't just crank them all up? You know what I mean? And you know, putting on a little beanie, a shirt, a radiation, ain't gonna help you. That ain't gonna help you. It can help you with the EMFs that are around us, like the radio towers. It can help you a little bit. But if your car ain't like so painted with lead and the interior's lead and you're wearing a lead suit which is gonna weigh a ton, nothing's gonna help you with this except Jesus Christ. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, what's up, Tony? What's up? Yeah, Banshee, like I said, like these things, you're not going to be able to use your weapon, but if you have uttermost faith in Jesus Christ, if you can walk on water and move mountains when you tell him to speak, what makes you think you can't walk through these frequencies? If you have the uttermost faith. You know, you have to understand that this is spiritual warfare. You know? I'm telling you, man, this is crazy. It gets crazy. That's why, you know, be my guest, you know, if you have very low faith on this in this walk and you don't think that Jesus Christ can protect you, like I said, no weapon formed against me will prosper. It's just the way it is. Jesus Christ has been telling us over and over and over again. That's why you can't have fear about this, man. We're just telling you to be ready. Be ready. Physically, mentally, and spiritually. Be ready. I'm telling you, man. Gotta have faith over fear. I ain't gonna push that fear corn stuff for you, man. Heck no. I'm trying to give you the uttermost faith, to put your uttermost faith into Jesus Christ and do your works. Faith without works is dead. Faith over fear. People, ladies and gentlemen, sisters and brothers. Because we're going to be the resistance. We're going to be the one resisting these things. While you see all these lukewarm Christians, all these sinners, all these people who haven't tried to repent or tried to call on Jesus Christ's name, to break them from the chains of sin, to help them out of this misery. You think Jesus is going to hear them? What they have been putting their faith on this system, on this stuff. You know, Jesus Christ and God, they know your routines. They know what you're up to. They know what's in your heart. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, Bonnie. Yeah, the people that are living in sin and the normies, like I call them. The people who attend Sunday church, when in reality, it's the Sabbath is not on Sunday. The Sabbath is on Saturday. You know, but people have it twisted because, you know, the Roman Catholic Church are the ones that change it to Sunday, you know? And there's going to be, let me tell you something too. You better make sure that your family is on the same track with Jesus Christ. You better make sure that your children are on the same track with Jesus Christ. Because if they're not, they will betray you. They will stab you in the back. Just so they can live. I'm telling you, this ain't no game, you know? In the show, V, you know, that dude's son, the one who's the resistance leader, his son gets converted and starts telling them all the information to the reptilians. Starts betraying the resistance. Telling them what they're doing. And then now the reptilians had an upper hand, so they were getting them before they were ambushing them and trying to attack them from this direction. They already knew they were going to come in on that direction. That's why you better have your family in your household with the uttermost faith to Jesus Christ, to the Most High. You know what I mean? I'm telling you, people. It's gonna be a wild journey this whole year, because you know that whole movie, the Disclosure. It's still, you know, all these things. I don't know if you've seen that movie. I forgot what it's called. There was this new show about this alien virus, so-called virus. You know, I forgot. It's called Pluribus. You know, I've been watching that new series. I'm gonna do a video on that coming. But if you haven't seen it, I have Angel Vid. I have Angel Vid, so I get to skip all the gay BS that they have because of course they have to make her lesbian, bro. Like, not bad, like you like that like. Like, it's hard to watch some of these shows, especially when they add all this LGBT crap on it, and they had all the, and it's just hard to watch it. But that's why you have to have Angel Vid to skip all the BS, bro, and you just get to the good parts, to see what's happening. But it gets deep. That show got deep, bro. It got deep. Oh, what's up, Diane? I think you're a little late for the live. I'm already calling it quits, but yeah, be prepared spiritually, mentally, and physically. I'm trying to put as much content as I can on YouTube, even if I'm trying to, do it as fast as possible because I'm trying to get my hours rolling because, YouTube's a pain in the butt, man. Trying to work with these folks is like trying to, hit a brick wall with a spoon. Like, it's going to take time to chew that freaking brick wall up with the spoon, you know what I mean? But thank you guys for watching. I'm American Mexican Gunslinger. Let me know down in the comments below what you guys think. Share and like the video as much as possible. Share the gospel to as many people as you can. Remember, share the gospel with your family, your children, everybody, man. Trying to share it as much as you possibly can. So you don't want to end up being betrayed by your own family members because they didn't believe in the gospel, man. It's just the way it is. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys around. Peace.